Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us, taking the time. My name is Katie Blake, and for those I don't know on the call, I'm a conservationist at Highstead, which is a small environmental nonprofit in Reading, Connecticut. I'm also the co-coordinator of the Northeast Bird Habitat Conservation Initiative, and I'm joined by my co-facilitator for the meeting, as well as my co-coordinator of the initiative, Sarah Barker. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Barker, and I direct the Cornell Land Trust Bird Conservation Initiative at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and I am in Ithaca, New York today.
So in just a minute, we're going to jump into introduction so we can learn all about you. And first, I just wanted to orient us to the goals of this meeting. This is really the first time that we've all convened as partners interested in or currently involved in the Northeast Bird Habitat Conservation Initiative. So that's pretty cool. One of our main goals for this meeting is to help you learn more about who we are, what our goals are, our resources that we can provide, and help highlight potential ways that we can bridge, connect, and support partners and projects in the future. We also wanted to provide some time for learning about and networking with others involved in bird and habitat conservation work throughout the Northeast. And knowing who's on the call and from seeing the participant list, I know many of you are already connected, which is great. Project partners who've been involved in the initiative will share a bit about projects that they've been working on the ground in the second half of the meeting. And we hope that this would inspire or aid you in any of the work that you're doing in that area. And finally, we'll provide some information and ideas for what's coming this year from the initiative and let you know how you can plug in if you're interested. So we'd love to learn who's here. So I'll ask everyone if you're able to at this moment to turn on your video, and I'll tap you to introduce yourself. And so I'll have you share your name, your organization, and your location, which can be where you're currently calling/zooming in from. And Jody can paste that prompt in the chat. If you're like, what are we sharing again? So just your name, organization, and location. And so I'll model. So I'm Katie Blake. I work for Highstead, and I'm calling in from Northwestern Connecticut. So I'm going to tap you in the order. I want to give a shout out to Jody. So Jody, I'll tap you first since you are behind the scenes gal today.
Hi, my name is Jody. Quick introduction. I'm a Highstead employee for about 15 years, and I am the Office and Technology Manager, and I'm here to support the team.
Awesome. Thanks, Jody. Nancy. Nancy Patch, unless there's another.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't unmute.
That's okay, no worries.
Hi, I'm Nancy Patch. I work for the state of Vermont, Forest Parks and Recreation, but I'm here representing Cold Hollow to Canada, the RCP, and I'm calling in from Northwest Vermont.
Awesome. Irene.
Hi, I'm Irene Flynn. I'm with the Georges River Land Trust, and we're part of the 12 Rivers Conservation Initiative, RCP.
Great. Patrick Cummins.
Hi, Patrick Cummins with Connecticut Audubon Society. I'm calling in from Stratford, Connecticut.
Great. Tommy McCarthy.
I'm Tommy. I'm an educator at Woodcock Nature Center in Wilton, Connecticut, and that is where I'm calling in from.
Charles Clarkson.
Hey there, I'm Charles. I am the Director of Avian Research for the Audubon Society of Rhode Island. So I'm based out of Rhode Island, but I'm calling in actually currently from northern New Hampshire.
Awesome. Laura McCarthy.
Hello, I am with Audubon Connecticut and Audubon New York, and I am based in Albany, New York.
And Pam Hunt.
Pam Hunt from New Hampshire Audubon, calling in from the Lakes region of New Hampshire at the moment.
Great. Jeff Ritterson.
Hi, Jeff Ritterson with Mass Audubon, calling in from Eastern Massachusetts, little town called Stowe.
And Bill.
Hey, everybody, I'm Bill Abick with Heisted, and I'm calling in from Western Massachusetts, Holyoke specifically. Glad to be here.
Sarah Wells.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wells. I'm calling from Mount Grace Land Trust, which is the fiscal sponsor of the North Quabbin Regional Landscape Partnership, and both of which are located in Athol, Massachusetts.
So, Connie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Connie Manis. I am here representing both the Kent Land Trust and the Litchfield Hills Greenprint Collaborative today, and I'm coming at you from Kent, Connecticut.
Corey.
Hey y'all, I'm Corey Folsom O'Keefe. I'm with the Audubon Connecticut New York Regional Office, and I'm calling in from Central Connecticut today.
And Ariana.
Hi, I'm Ariana Ferrario. I work at the Columbia Land Conservancy, and we're in Columbia County, New York, in the Hudson Valley.
Sweet. Linda.
Linda Mons, from Cold Hollow to Canada, and I'm in Montgomery, Vermont.
Great. Steve.
If that's me.
Steve Hagenboo, sorry. Yep.
Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Hagenboo. I'm a senior conservation biologist and forester with Audubon, Vermont, and I'm calling from beautiful downtown Waterbury Center.
And Rosa Goldman.
Hi, Rosa Goldman with Audubon, Connecticut and New York, calling in from New Haven, Connecticut.
Sweet. And Roxanne. Hi, Roxanne.
Yeah, hi, Katie. Hi, everybody. Roxanne Bogart with the Fish and Wildlife Services Migratory Bird Program. I'm calling in from Western Mass, Amherst specifically.
Another Western Mass. Yay. I have to scroll. Hang with me here. Okay, Eileen.
Eileen Fielding, Audubon, Connecticut and New York, calling in from Sharon, Connecticut.
And Brian Hall.
Brian Hall from Harvard Forest in Highstead, and I am calling in from North Central Massachusetts, about 15 minutes from Sarah Wells.
All right, and Jean.
Hi, I'm Jean Pillow. I'm representing the Thames River Basin Partnership, which is funded by the Last Green Valley, and I'm calling in from Northeast Connecticut.
Great. Welcome, Jean. Jim Bonesteel.
Hi, I'm Jim Bonesteel. I'm with the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance, and I am calling in from the only Stephentown on Earth, Stephentown, New York, on the Rensselaer Plateau.
All right. Amanda Duran.
Hi, Amanda Duran. I am with the Appalachian Mountains Joint Venture, and I am calling in from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
And Todd. Todd F.
Hey everybody, Todd Fear. I'm the coordinator for the Appalachian Mountains Joint Venture, and I'm in Blacksburg, Virginia.
All right, and Jane Breck.
Hi, I'm Jane Brecky, and I'm with the Great Works Regional Land Trust, and I'm calling for, I'm coming at you from South Berwick, Maine.
Oh, I like that, coming at you. Use that. Dennis, hey Dennis.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm Dennis Reardon, president of Mononkatuk Audubon Society in the greater New Haven area, and I'm calling from New Haven.
All right. My Hollywood squares are we're going to do our best. Okay. Getting reshuffled. Mark LeVar, you're next.
Hi, everybody. Mark LeVar, Audubon, Vermont, and I'm calling from the Green Mountain Audubon Center in Huntington.
And Lisa.
Hey there, Lisa Linehan, representing Kittery Land Trust and Mount Agamenicus to the Sea Conservation Initiative in Southern Maine, specifically Kittery today.
Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil Brown. I'm with the Harris Center for Conservation Education in southwestern New Hampshire in the town of Hancock.
Great. And John Triana.
Hey, my name is John Triana. I'm the real estate manager for the Regional Water Authority in New Haven, Connecticut.
Thanks, John. Jean-Luc. Oh, just unmute.
Sorry, everyone. Jean-Luc Theriault from the Kennebec Land Trust and the Kennebec Woodland Partnership in Winthrop, Maine.
Great. Mary Hoover.
Hi, I'm Mary Hoover, representing the American Chestnut Land Trust and the Southern Maryland Conservation Alliance, calling in from Southern Maryland.
Amy Weldon.
Hi, everyone. Amy Weldon. I'm represent the Atlantic Coast Joint Venture with the Fish and Wildlife Service based out of Western Massachusetts.
Great. Heidi.
Hi, everyone. Heidi Ritchie, Director of Policy and Advocacy at Mass Audubon, based out of our Lincoln headquarters, but I'm in North Central Massachusetts, Shirley, right now, and just here to listen and learn.
Great. Jordan Brown.
Hey everyone, I'm Jordan Brown. I'm calling from Smyrna, Delaware. I am the Delaware Division of Fish and Wildlife's landbird biologist.
Awesome. All right. I'm just making sure I got everybody. Ashley Meyer, I don't think you introduced yourself. Ashley, we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you are unmuted, but having audio issues. No worries. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, I'll move on and hopefully we can help you remedy those if we can be helpful. Let's see, Alana, I think you're next.
Hi, I'm Alan Jarris with the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance, located in Eastern New York and Rensselaer County.
Awesome. And Robin L.
Hi, I'm Robin Ladouceur, and I'm with Audubon, Connecticut, New York, the Center Director at the Bent of the River Center in Southbury, Connecticut.
Great. Welcome, Robin. Margot.
Hi, everybody. I'm Margot Burns. I'm the Senior Environmental Planner at the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments, and I'm representing the Lower Connecticut River Land Trust Exchange and the Lower Connecticut River Land Trust.
Awesome. Thanks, Margot. Jillian Liner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian Liner. I'm the Director of Conservation for Audubon, Vermont, and I'm calling in from Ithaca, New York.
Great. David David Yaney.
Hi, David Yaney here, avian ecologist with the Pennsylvania Natural Heritage Program at the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. I'm calling in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Great. Brad W.
Yeah, Brad Weigel with Coastal Rivers Conservation Trust in Damerscott, Maine.
Great. And Guy Folks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Guy Fowles. I work with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the Migratory Bird Program in our headquarters office, and I'm calling from Alexandria, Virginia.
Some a great diversity. Did I miss anybody? Anybody not get a chance to introduce themselves? Great. Awesome. Well, it's really great to have you here. Additionally, if you're so moved, we'd love to invite you to share in the chat now anything you'd hope to gain from this meeting. And Jody can put that prompt in the chat box now. And we'll be keeping this in mind as we move throughout the day today. But we're really excited to have you. And in just a minute, I'm going to go over the agenda just to orient you to what we're doing today. Screen. All right, so we did welcome introductions. You're going to hear from Sarah and a little background about the Northeast Bird Habitat Conservation Initiative. And we're going to keep this engaging. I know it's a 3-hour meeting, and so take care of yourself throughout the time, but we're going to also keep it very engaging. We're going to have a breakout opportunity, so where you'll be able to connect with other leaders at random groups. Some people you'll know, some will be new, we hope, and just an opportunity for you to learn about what each other is doing. And then we're going to share a little bit about what we're calling resource moments, a couple of different resources that have been a part of this initiative, some that were developed as part of the initiative, and that first one being eBird, and a lot of the resources within eBird. And I know many of you on this call as bird people are probably familiar at some level with it. So you'll definitely want to hear about that. We'll have a break, and then the second half of our meeting is really around peer exchange on the different bird-friendly projects that have been happening in the Northeast. And again, this is an opportunity for you to learn from others who've been involved in projects on the ground as part of the initiative, in hopes that it aids your work in some way. And so there'll be talks on forestry, bird-friendly forestry, grassland projects in Massachusetts and Maine, and eBird around engaging landowners and your partnerships. And then we'll end with another resource that we wanted to highlight, which is the new interactive mapping tool that uses eBird data. And we'll keep you to our time and get you out of here on time. So I'll stop sharing that. Jody will paste the link to the agenda if you didn't get it or just want it handy into the chat now, and you can have that on hand. But I wanted to give a little background before turning it over to Sarah to share more with you about the Bird Initiative. But since many of you, maybe I'm guessing maybe have, given by who's on the call now, but maybe less familiar with the Regional Conservation Partnerships, or RCPs for short, I wanted just to give a little bit of background. So RCPs are informal yet organized and diverse networks of partners from public and private entities such as land trusts, state and federal agencies, conservation organizations, academic institutions, and others. And they started popping up across the Northeast in the 1990s. And I think that, you know, at some level, this concept of RCPs exist in other parts of the country, but in the Northeast, there was really a growth starting in the 90s. And RCPs work together across boundaries on shared strategic conservation priorities to accomplish landscape scale projects. And this is not unlike any partnership that you might be connected with already in your work. And it's especially pertinent as it relates to birds who, as you know, don't stop at a state line and say, well, I better stay in this state because I don't know, Connecticut doesn't offer me the same protections. So it doesn't, we know it doesn't work that way. In 2012, RCPs created a network to be able to share lessons across RCPs and across the landscape, but also to fundraise together and to work with regional partners like Land Trust Alliance and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in a more strategic way and toward protecting more land. The Highstead Foundation serves as the fiscal agent and coordinates the RCP network and works on their behalf to bring resources and support to individual RCPs. And the RCP network provides 3 kinds of service to RCPs: peer learning and exchange. One example is a meeting like this. Information on best practices in collaborative landscape conservation, and capacity building via training, mentoring, and collective fundraising. Since 2009, we've helped 15 of the current RCPs get established, and 25 of those RCPs we've helped advance towards protecting land as a partnership. We've also helped RCPs get access to $30 million in funding, a large part of which has been through the NRCS's Regional Conservation Partnership Program. So Jody's going to paste some links about the RCP network in the chat that you can explore later. But I want to share a map with you. One of those links is to this map, just to give you a sense. So from what I heard, there's folks calling in from across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, which is super exciting. And so again, invite you to explore where you are if you're less familiar, or if you are familiar and looking to see the who's in your neighborhood. I encourage you to check out this map. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm going to launch a quick poll, because I just would love to get a sense of your connection with RCPs and Audubon groups. These are two of our main partners within the initiative. Oh, someone is screen sharing. Hang on one second. That's okay. There we go. I want to just get a sense of your connection with these two groups. This is two of the main partners of the Bird Initiative. And so bear with me while I launch this quick poll, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sarah. All right, thank you. I'm going to share those results. So it looks like that a lot of folks are engaged with RCPs, Audubon groups, and other networks as well. So thanks so much. All right, so I think with that, let's see if there's any questions about the day, about the agenda, anything before I turn it over to Sarah. Thanks. Sarah D.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. So give me a second. Let me get this ready to go. Okay, does everyone see that? Yep, I see Brian shaking his head. Okay, excellent. Well, hello everyone. I'm gonna give a quick history and overview of the Northeast Bird Habitat Conservation Initiative for those of you who are not familiar with the program or potentially the history of the program. So the Cornell Land Trust Bird Conservation Initiative, we build what are called conservation collaboratives, and this is by bringing clusters of regional or neighboring land trusts and bird conservation partners together around a common set of goals to focus conservation efforts on high priority birds and places where protection and management are most needed, but also can be most effective. And so land trusts within these collaboratives really amplify their efforts and build capacity through their connection to Cornell and also other partners by leveraging their collective resources and working together to secure funds and then attracting broader attention from the conservation and birding communities. And since birds aren't restricted to political boundaries, they really make great tools to help build the relationships and scale these types of efforts. So in 2018, Heisted and the Cornell Lab led a series of meetings to explore the value of partnering on bird conservation initiatives for land trusts and regional conservation partnerships, and to discuss how the RCP network might help advance the Land Trust Initiative and help us create a conservation collaborative in the Northeast. So our group presented this idea at the RCP network gathering, where it then gained support and momentum. And we held a summit meeting at Harvard Forest in 2019 to identify partners and priorities and generate ideas for what we hoped would be actionable pilot projects and also funding opportunities. And then in 2020, we facilitated discussions via Zoom meetings with RCPs and Audubon groups in Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maine, really centered around opportunities for collaboration, for goal alignment, and these potential pilot projects, which officially launched the Northeast Bird Habitat Conservation Initiative. So the mission of this conservation collaborative is to help RCPs connect with bird conservation in ways that will advance and expand land protection, partnerships, and ecological priorities. And so together with the technical expertise and resources that Audubon partners and Heisted and Cornell offer, and then the impact that RCPs generate at a regional scale, the hope is this initiative can contribute to longer term land protection objectives across a larger landscape in the Northeast, really yielding more benefits, not only just for birds, but also for people and our natural resources as well. So why were we interested in partnering with and then supporting the RCP network? Well, the work of the RCPs within the network really is locally grounded. They're familiar with conservation leaders in their communities as well as land trusts. And then RCPs and their partners really develop personal relationships with landowners within their network, offering support with activities such as management decisions and land protection prioritization. And these landowners can serve as ambassadors and models, showcasing these conservation activities within their communities. Also, the work of RCPs is regionally effective. So as partners collectively promote land protection and habitat conservation at a regional level through their shared conservation vision. So they increase and scale conservation impact by building RCP capacity and fostering peer exchange across RCPs, and also partners in the Northeast with partners in the Northeast through training opportunities, collaborative grants, and then I think Katie mentioned really developing shared conservation models and best practices. So RCPs are also nimble in their response to conservation priorities. So for example, RCPs can often respond to funding opportunities that may be out of reach or scope for some individual partners, such as a small, maybe all volunteer land trust whose mission is to support bird habitat in their service area, but they might not have the capacity to write a grant to support this work. But by being a part of this RCP, this smaller organization can partner with others who then have greater capacity. So in 2021, we received a grant from the DeCozart Foundation, and it's really helped us grow this work within the RCP network. And we have 3 goals that drive this process. So the first is building collective knowledge and consciousness about the importance of birds where RCPs work, and also to demonstrate and create awareness of how bird conservation can help advance regional priorities and then be used successfully to assist with private land planning and protection. So really, how can we insert birds into the equation, and how can they help move ahead these conservation priorities? Our second goal is educating partners about and then training in the use of the online bird checklist program, eBird, and also encouraging and supporting RCP members in adopting eBird as a tool for activities such as monitoring and decision-making and land prioritization, also engaging communities. And then our third goal is improving, conserving, and managing habitats through a series of projects that support declining populations of bird species of concern in forests and working lands and grasslands in the Northeast. This is to protect and steward priority places and private lands for target birds by putting managed acres on the ground. So the strategic partnership provides trainings and develops resources, including the use of eBird and eBird science data, and is putting bird-friendly management practices to work. So these diverse partnerships and connections with the RCPs really empower us to expand and amplify land conservation and management. So in our second breakout session, you'll have the opportunity to hear about 4 of our specific projects, which Katie alluded to earlier, and they all will address these 3 goals. And we'll also have a couple resource moments later in the meeting between the breakouts where I'm going to share some eBird resources as well as some information about our new mapping tool. So Katie, I'm going to stop sharing and happy to answer any questions if there are any. And I'll turn it back over to you.
So thanks, Sarah. Yeah, any questions? Just either feel free to unmute, or you can raise your hand, or you can throw it into the chat. Oh,
right.
If they come up, feel free to reach out, throw them in the chat, or email us separately. We'll give our email information. But I was reading through the chat, and thanks for sharing what you're hoping to gain. And I think from what folks have shared so far, really looking to connect with others, learn what others are doing, gain some inspiration and ideas for projects, getting a sense of what's happening at the landscape. I think that's definitely what you're going to hear throughout the day today. So with that in mind, we're going to go into speaking of learning about what's happening, into breakout rooms. For the next 25-ish minutes or so, you're going to get a chance to connect with other conservation leaders. And this is an opportunity to share what type of bird-focused or bird-friendly work that you're working on. It's also a time, if there's other questions that come up about the initiative or about a role we might play or interest you might have, to see if it's a fit for convening or anything. This is the time where you can discuss that. And I'm going to share a slide in a second to help guide those breakout discussions. So bear with me. Oh, there we go. One of these, by the time we're all meeting in person again, I will have figured out just perfectly how to do all. Okay, so I hope this is big enough that everyone can see this slide. You're not seeing random notes.
It looks great, Katie.
Great. So guidance for the breakout discussion, 3 rounds of, or go rounds of discussion that we're offering. You'll have about 5 people in your room, and Jody's working diligently to get those rooms set up. But in the meantime, first round, just simple introductions, your name, organization, and a fun icebreaker just for fun is on a scale of 1 to 5. How much are you already engaged in bird-friendly conservation? 5 being, I eat, sleep, and drink birds. Very engaged. So I know you just did introductions, but you might have folks you are less familiar with. It's always helpful to get those names again. So that's round 1. Everyone has a chance to share that. And then going to round 2, and you could do round 2 and 3 in a different order if you want to. But the second round is, what is one question that's coming up for you that you might have about the bird initiative, questions you'd want to bring to us. And that's okay if maybe there isn't, or if you've had some time to sort of process or percolate on that, and questions come up, please share those. And then the bulk of this will be that third round. It's talking about your work. How are birds currently helping your conservation efforts or shaping your conservation efforts and priorities? Put another way, what's maybe a specific example of bird-friendly or focused work that you're working on or want to be working on? And everyone has a chance to talk about, say a few words. So just minding your airtime and just giving everyone a chance in the group to share out. Any questions? Jody's going to share these questions in the chat now, so that when you go to your breakout rooms, you have access to these in the chat, so you don't have to remember, what are we talking about? Let's just talk about birds the whole time, which is totally fine. But we are very interested in the work that you're doing and learning about the work that you're doing, again, as something that we can learn more about, and to see where we might help foster some connection. When we come back from breakout rooms, we're going to have some time to share out really as an individual. So don't worry about having someone take notes or who is in your room. That's not as important as just having the discussion. And when we come back, we have just an opportunity to share out individually as me, Katie from my organization, what some of the things that you talked about. So I will stop to see if there are any hands or confused faces or any questions. You will get zoomed away. The questions are in the chat. That's great. In into a room. If you're having trouble, just hang. We'll get you, Sarah and I will get you into whichever room you need to be, but we'll see you back in about 25 minutes. Jody, you can go ahead and launch those rooms if you're ready. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had great conversations and look forward to learning more about what you discussed. I know breakout time is really never enough. So hope that you had enough time to dig in. We're going to take a few minutes in a second. I'm going to share my screen in just a minute. So take a few minutes individually to fill out a form as a way of gathering some input from your breakout discussions. And so let me show you what we're going to do. So I created, and in just a minute, I'll give Jody the cue to share this in the chat, but you're going to click on this, a link to this document, and then you're going to find whatever your last name begins with, click on that sheet or that link. They're the same, but it's just a way of us working in 40 of us working in a Google Doc together. This is a live experiment, but so that we don't, I don't know, Google doesn't implode on us. So it's just a way to divide and conquer and not all fight for the same cursor. So that's going to bring you to this document, and it's just putting your name, organization, email. One question you have for initiative leaders, if anything came up that you have or came up you know, as part of your discussions, and then speaking for the work that you're doing, any examples that you'd want to highlight of work you're currently doing, anything you want to be doing, anything else you might want to share, anything that stuck out to you for an aha or insight or neat connection that might be worth more exploring. Share that here. And this will be a document that we're going to put together, right? So we'll put everybody's information into one, and as a continued way for us to network and share with each other as part of this partnership network. We will do that following the meeting. It's also a way for Sarah and I to look at the questions that you have, look at the work you're doing or want to be doing, or again, anything else that you have to share that can help us start to connect some dots, or to see, gosh, there's a lot of interest in this topic. Maybe we want to convene a group around that. Or this seems to be a common issue, or this across all the states. So it'll just give us a little bit more intel as we work to identify some future connections, and also look at resources and opportunities. And then just a really troubleshooting kind of tip. Once you click into the document and you get to this sheet, you're going to see probably like 5,000 people at this first couple of, just, you know, scoot down a couple, go to the end. I made 2 pages. Oops, that's the second page. I made 2 pages of this. So just find a cell that doesn't have anybody. And maybe just give it a second if it seems really busy, or go to the next page. So hopefully there won't be too much competition, and that we won't, it won't be too much of a headache. I know Google Docs is one of those love-hate relationships I have ongoing. So let me stop share there and see if there are any questions. All right, so Jody, if you want to throw that link in the chat. And we'll just have, I wish I had some music, or I sang really nicely. I would do that for you all. It just take some time to fill this out, but I won't talk over you, so you can actually think and write without distraction. So I'm seeing the cadence of stuff getting entered just slowing a bit, but please still enter if you, as you're thinking of it. just wanted to take me. Sorry, I didn't know the half of the alphabet. I saw you all adjusted. One of the sheets is a little bit busier. But wanted to call out just seeing some stuff around grassland bird programs, interest in and work that is being done. Definitely will want to hear what project partners who have been doing grassland bird work at our second breakout. So make sure you attend those presentations. Seeing around interest in connecting with one another in this network and seeing who's doing what. My first initial response, and Sarah, tell me what you're seeing, but just such a diversity, of course, of what you all are doing. That's really exciting. Really exciting to see.
Yeah, Katie, I can't wait to be able to sit down with this and process all of it because there's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a theme of helping support RCPs. As I scroll through it.
Seeing some stuff around habitat assessments that different groups are doing around bird habitat assessments. Different restoration types of projects. So this is great. And agree that I think I definitely can't wait to dig in and to really read what you all are sharing.
I see foster more collaboration on bird habitat management in our RCP region, and that's something that we hope this initiative can help with once we start making more of these connections.
Absolutely. Seeing some good questions too. And one about eBird, about possibly being a detriment to bird conservation. I'm
looking for the question.
The question is, any concern about eBird being a detriment, from John Triana, a detriment to bird conservation?
Yeah, I can expand if you want me to.
Actually, that'd be great. Yeah, because Sarah's gonna present on eBird next. So yeah, tell us a bit more.
My in the little breakout session we had, we talked about Connie talked about whether if there's a cerulean warbler here and you put it on eBay, then more people show up and they also record the cerulean warbler there. You know, it's not really fanning across a sort of unique area, you know, or a wide area across the landscape. You're focusing people on one location. Then my question is, if all the people are there, are they being any, if you get a lot of people showing up to see this thing, is the crowd going to be a detriment to the conservation of that species? And as a large landowner, this isn't really true for eBird. It's more true for other things that stand still on the landscape. We have a tremendous number of trespassers on our property who go and look for cellar holes to go metal detecting, go and look for rare plants, and then sometimes dig them up. They go and they look for geological features that they want to go collect at, including going into an abandoned 18th century copper mine on our property. And having all this stuff out on the internet, it stays there forever and you can't get rid of it. And so all of a sudden, you know, people just start trespassing. Hey, you know, let's go out today and go look for this thing. And in terms of what we're talking about here, I'm openly wondering whether or not sometimes it could be a detriment.
Yeah, and I think that that's something the eBird team thinks about a lot, and that they're certainly concerned about. And that's especially has to do with rare species. The cerulean warbler, you know, I wouldn't say people might, unless it was in a part of its range where it doesn't necessarily occur, but a species that's, very rare, a very rare sighting, they do have a protocol now, and this is a sighting that would draw a lot of birders into a particular site, where those birds will be hidden from the location data. So the checklist data will be hidden, and it will be still able to be used in the models, but it will be not shown at that level, so people can't go to that exact site to see that specific bird. They also talk about, in their best practices, they talk about potentially entering that bird sighting 2 weeks later or a month later, or after the breeding season. So at a time when, the sighting would still be recorded at the accurate location and the actual date. So you have the spatial temporal data, but you would not be doing it in that moment. So the bird would have moved on and people would not necessarily have seen it. There's also protocols in eBird where you can, attach a private property to it or some sort of tag within your nomenclature. So to your checklist site, so people know that this is not a place where you can just go traipse all over the property. Is everyone going to respect that? Perhaps not. But that's something that we hope, a birding community would uphold. So does that help?
Yes, I understand that there are some, what do you call it, processes in place to avoid such problems.
These are really great questions that I'm seeing. And I don't know if we're going to be talking about eBird next, Sarah. That might be a great segue, unless there's something that really stood out for somebody. We have like a minute or so in their discussion that they just wanted to either share or ask. But Sarah,
Hey, Katie?
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that the context of our conversation was also much more about the absence of data in some places than the prevalence of it, and how eBird potentially could create prevalences of data in places that, and I know that, for the people looking at the predictive models, they can solve for that. But the question was more about how to incentivize people to go out and collect data where there might not be a lot of data, but there might be predictive modeling that there would be the birds that you'd like to protect. So that was it.
So Connie, are you talking about people trying to fill in gaps and running into these sensitive species or areas where people may not want birders on their property?
No, really more just, thinking about, can we identify places where we need more data and drive people there? Like, are there, are there find that bird contests that we could be having? And, so again, it's not like, it's not critical of anything that's being done or even the limitations of the model. It's just, can we be creative in how we continue to use it so that we get that data?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I'm trying to do through the Land Trust Initiative Land Trusts have such an incredible network, right, of members and partners and volunteers on private lands. And that's where a large number of our data gaps are, obviously, on private lands. So really trying to boost that network and educate them about eBird and encourage them to use it as an outreach tool. So we can then, in turn, one of the benefits of that is gathering more data on these private lands where we have a lot of these gaps. And that's where all of you can come in and play a role in that as well.
I think that's perfect segue, actually, to turn it to you, Sarah, to talk about eBird. But just thank you, everybody. Keep it open if you have other thoughts that come in. And we're going to share this after the meeting as a way to stay connected and be looking at and addressing the questions that you so thoughtfully shared. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share again. So Can you all see that? Good. Okay. Excellent. Well, as Katie says, I'm going to share some resources related to eBird and eBird science data, and I don't have time to share everything. It's such an extensive wealth of information, but I just want to showcase us a couple of things that I thought would be interesting for you all, and that we've done and tapped into through the initiative, through the Bird Initiative, to really that could help support future land conservation projects, outreach, partnership development, those sorts of activities. So I assume that most everyone's heard of eBird. Just in case you have not, it's a free web-based tool for recording bird observations, and it's one of the largest biodiversity databases in the world, with over 1 billion bird observations from every country. So it's exploded. And as stated in our goals for the Northeast Bird Habitat Conservation Initiative, we want to support and encourage RCP members and partners to adopt eBird as a tool for monitoring and decision-making and engagement with their communities, so we can do things like what Connie was mentioning, filling gaps on data on private lands. It's just one of the activities that we would like it to help support. So we started by building our eBird program and its data products into a 2-part webinar series. And this was designed to help train RCP leaders to host their own eBird workshops within their communities. And this was with the goal of working to build an eBird ambassador network within the private lands community. So, and also within this RCP landscape. And this is by using the network to sort of amplify our messaging to a broader audience. So these webinars were recorded. They're posted on our website. And I believe the links might go into the chat right now where you can find them. And then we launched an RFP, a request for proposals, in 2022 for $500 eBird mini grants. And these were to support the RCP leaders in their workshop development and to train their partners to use eBird effectively. So the 8 awarded grant projects proposed a variety of both virtual and in-person workshops. And these took place across the Northeast in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And these are all shown here on this map. And the projects engaged audiences from RCP partner landowners to teachers, to land trust stewardship committees, to beginning birders within their respective communities. So it really spanned the gamut. And you'll have the opportunity to hear from one of these mini grant recipients, from Connie, from the Litchfield Hills Greenprint Collaborative in the next breakout. So if you're interested in learning more about any of these projects, not just Connie's, I would be happy to connect you with the awardees. So I also want to quickly show a couple brand new resources that have been released using eBird science data. So there's now an eBird portal where we've assembled a series of data products and summaries at the state level. And this is to support pressing needs such as updates for state wildlife action plans, also preparing for RAWA, for Recovering America's Wildlife Act funds, as well as conservation and management actions. So this database includes summaries of population metrics to GIS-ready files of relative abundance by state. And these include species of greatest conservation need, percentage of population during the breeding season, maximum year-round abundance percentage, and maximum abundance by week. There are species-specific state-level relative abundance and maximum abundance maps, and these are all produced using the eBird status data. And then there are also stewardship connections and uniqueness of stewardship connections maps that highlight opportunities for conservation investments across the full annual cycle to inform stewardship actions. And there are really nice tutorials that are on this site which help explain all of these data products, because I know they can kind of be a mouthful. And some of them are a little tricky to understand. But this here, what you see on this slide, this is a map that shows a maximum abundance map for the bay-breasted warbler in New York. So this stores the maximum relative abundance at each cell across the year. So cells with higher values have more individual bay-breasted warblers at some point in the year than at any point of the year in all the cells with lower values. So this is the overall spatial extent of where the species passes through or spends time in New York during the year. So this is just one example of what you'll find on this site. In November, we released a new generation of the species trend maps, showing a fine scale view of where bird species are increasing or decreasing. And these are at a 27 by 27 kilometer resolution, allowing us really to visualize changes in abundance at local scales from 2007 to 21. And this is for the breeding season. So the increase is shown in blue, the decrease is in red, or if the trend is uncertain, it is displayed in white here on the map. So abundance is also shown by the size of the dot. So the larger circles signify more individuals and greater occurrence of a given species. So if you have a larger and dark red circles, those indicate that a larger proportion of the population is declining. So this wood thrush trend map shows regional variation with increases in the Appalachian region and then large decreases in portions of the mid-Atlantic and southern New England states. So if you scroll over these trend maps, you'll get a call-out box. This is like what you see here on the right. And this shows that in southeastern West Virginia, wood thrushes increased by 55% from 2007 to 2021. So we're now able to scale down to the region where most conservation decisions are made, really enabling practitioners to identify where to focus efforts to look at drivers of population change and implement potential interventions. So these are pretty exciting maps and really fun to navigate. So I suggest, highly recommend you go to the site and check them out if you haven't already. And then a way to fund work that incorporates eBird, one avenue could be through the Cornell Land Trust grant program. And this is an annual grant program with applications that are due on March 1st and funds awarded at the end of May. So the RFP is open right now, so you still have time to apply if you're interested for this year. We offer $5,000 grants to support capacity building for land trusts and collaborative development with partners around birds. And this would certainly include funding for eBird workshops and outreach. And then we also offer $25,000 grants to support active management, restoration, and stewardship work. And this is in a way that enhances bird habitat and promotes bird conservation, which again, alongside this management, it could include an outreach and monitoring component using eBird. Okay, so that was just a really quick run through with some of our new eBird products and some ways that you could potentially fund those and how we've used them in the Bird Initiative. And just wondering, I want to stop there and see if we have time for any questions.
Yeah, I think maybe one or two questions before break, or if people want to stick around during break.
Be certainly happy to answer them during break too.
There was one in the chat from David. How are breeding season periods determined for the trends maps?
Let's see if I can go back to these maps. So that is a question that I will not do justice to. So that is one that I can certainly respond to in an email, because I was not on the team, the S&T, the status and trend team that actually did the modeling for this exercise. So I want to be sure that I give you the correct response. So if we can record that, I will be sure to get you an answer and send that to you if that's okay.
So, one last question out there that anyone wants to ask? Chat is okay too. And again, Sarah can take questions during the break if you stick around. So I don't see I don't see any questions. We have a 15-minute break. I hope this soft winter scene does not put you to sleep. Maybe you'll, but we'll see you back in 15 minutes, everybody. And we're going to be hearing from our project partners and fun peer exchange.
And I can stick on if anyone has other questions.
Welcome back, everybody. In this next part of the agenda, we wanted to provide some opportunities for all of you to learn from your peers, RCPs and other bird conservation focus groups who are working together and have been working together on private lands to benefit birds. As Sarah mentioned earlier, back in early 2020, we held a series of calls by state with all interested partners, so different RCPs and Audubon groups, looking to see if there were projects of interest across multiple states that we could assist through the Bird Initiative in connecting partners and in finding resources to get some of those projects off the ground, which would meet mutual goals of all involved. And so the examples that you're going to hear about in just a few minutes were a product of those common interests that really rose to the top that almost everybody that we chatted with across the Northeast was thinking about. Namely bird-friendly forestry, grassland management with birds in mind, and using eBird to engage partners and landowners in their region. And we were able to secure some funding, again, as Sarah mentioned, via a grant to support those projects, and wanted to share them here as examples of these different bird-friendly projects that can be supported and amplified within an RCP and across the RCP network, as well as a larger landscape. And I want to acknowledge, because I know from the participant list and attendance today and some emails I got preceding the meeting, that there are other areas of interest of bird-friendly work, such as urban bird conservation projects or more coastal priorities. And I think we fully anticipate and hope that there will be future meetings within the initiative that we can help convene to dig into those where there's that common interest. But in the meantime, if you're just joining, or if you haven't already, indicate your interest of work that you want to be doing, or again, questions you might have, and especially if it's work in urban conservation projects. I know some of you are working in that area. Jody's going to put that link to that Google Doc. We were working on a Google Doc earlier into the chat now, and you can put that information there. So each presentation, each group that will be presenting is going to, in just a minute, give a little teaser about their talk. And that's because you'll get a chance to attend 2 of the 4 presentations. We didn't want to make the meeting even longer, so a little compromise there, that we're going to have 2 back-to-back 20-minute breakout sessions. In that 20 minutes, you'll hear about 9-10 minutes or so of presenting from the groups about their project, the RCP and partner. And the remaining time will be questions that you have and or discussion about if it's work that you're also doing and want to share. So really just a peer exchange opportunity. And we're going to zoom out to the rooms, come back for a second to just gain our bearings, and then you'll get a chance to pick your second presentation or topic that you want to go to. And so thanks you again to our speakers who will be giving back-to-back presentations. We appreciate your time and expertise and bringing that aspect to this meeting today. So I'm going to call on our presenters. Give me 1 second. Give their 1-minute teaser. So first up, be hearing about bird-friendly forestry. I think Steve was going to be the spokesperson. So Steve, you.
Indeed. Shall I go?
Yes, please. Thanks.
All right, 1 minute and counting. Here we go. Thanks, Katie. So hi again, everybody. Steve Hagenmuth from Audubon, Vermont. And I'm going to start by sharing something that you already all know, which is that the region that we're all representing here today, the Northeast and some of the Mid-Atlantic states, is a forested region with upwards of 95% of some of the states represented covered in forests. We also know that a lot of people enjoy those forests for recreation, for some of the forest products that we get from them, the fall foliage that they provide people from all around the world the opportunity to come and see. What a lot of people don't realize, though, is that we also host some of the highest species richness of birds during the summer breeding season of anywhere else in the country. And, you know, some of those birds are definitely birds that have been experiencing long-term population declines. And for others, we are really the core of their nesting habitats, especially for some of those neotropical migrant songbirds. At the same time, we have a private landowner base that really is motivated by wildlife. It's one of the, in surveys, it's one of the top things that people indicate as reasons for owning their land. So join Nancy and I, and we're going to share with you some of the work that that Audubon, Vermont, and the Cold Hollow Canada Regional Park Conservation Partnership have been doing around trying to give private landowners the tools and information that they need to be better stewards of their forest, to help enhance the health of that forest for birds and for people as well. And we'll share some case studies from our work together over the last few years. So look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks, Steve. All right, next up is Laura, who offered to speak, to give the 1 minute teaser on the Maine grassland bird project and work that she's doing with partners.
Great, thanks, Katie, and hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today with Jean-Luc and Irene from various land trusts, and they will be joining me in the breakout session. So just quickly, Maine's Ag Allies statewide grassland bird program works with farmers and landowners to make a variety of grassland bird friendly management changes on their land in order to increase the nesting success of these birds. We do this through the use of technical assistance, incentive payments, and education and outreach. And since beginning to work with Sarah at Cornell and Katie at Highstead back in 2018, we've included a special focus on land trusts and RCPs in Maine. Within the 12 Rivers RCP, we partner with land trusts like GRLT to provide coordinated outreach to grassland conservation easement owners. And we have also worked within the Kennebec RCP with land trusts like KLT on specific grassland habitat improvement projects, as well as establishing a partner conduit for outreach. So we will be delighted to be speaking with folks more about this subject. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura. And the Massachusetts grassland work, Jeff Ritterson.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. So the essence of our work was to incorporate the technical and incentive payment model and the outreach approaches that you just heard about from Ag Allies into the bobbling project. So just briefly, the bobbling project raises and distributes funds to compensate farmers for delayed mowing. So they don't mow during a window of the breeding season, which allows the bobolins a chance to get off a clutch. But it's been a pretty hands-off process. So by learning from Ag Allies and applying some of their approaches, we will now be able to provide advice on bird-friendly management, on working farm fields, help farmers address some hay and soil quality issues through field refurbishment that can arise from delayed mowing, for example. And so over the past year, we worked within an RCP, the North Quabbin Regional Landscape Partnership, represented by Sarah Wells today, to leverage their existing partnership in piloting these new approaches to grassland bird conservation. So hope to see some of you there. If you're really interested, you can come twice. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. And last but not least, Connie, to talk about a teaser about your eBird.
Great. Well, short and sweet. I won't take a whole minute. My juicy lead-in is that in just 8 or 9 minutes, I will demonstrate how my local land trust leveraged funding from 2 eBird mini grants and a land trust small grant to engage stakeholders, activate community scientists, mobilize volunteers, and set the stage for more of the same at our Keystone property and across the region. So come hear more. fun photos and details in the 20-minute.
Awesome. Thank you. So very quickly, Jody is going to, in a minute, we'll launch the rooms. Just a reminder, I know everyone's Zoom is a little different. You should get a box that pops up and you'll get to choose which talk you want to go to first. Again, you get to pick two. It may pop up, it may be down in your Zoom bar as a tab, or you may have to go to the More button and find breakouts. If all else fails and you want to throw your computer out the window, just hang on and we'll add you. It's not a problem. And with that, I do not want to keep you anymore. So think about where you're going first. And Jody, when you're ready.
Katie, excuse me one second.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we have one question. Will the breakouts be recorded so we could see the one we don't choose?
Yes, and thank you for the prompt to remind our speakers. When you're in your room, you can choose to record to your computer. And you can email those to me and Sarah later and we'll share those out. So if you can remember, record to computer.